Run your hand down your arm. Feel that? Skin. Smooth, bare skin. For almost every other mammal alive on this planet, that same touch would land on a thick coat of fur. Yet somewhere deep in your past, your ancestors gave theirs away, and the reason why quietly rewrote the entire story of what you would become. You are the naked ape. Out of more than 5,000 species of mammals walking the earth today, you belong to a strange little club that goes through life essentially bare. Whales did it in the ocean. Elephants and rhinos did it because they are enormous. Mole rats did it underground in the dark. And then there is you. A medium-sized primate standing in the open with skin where fur should be. Why? Why would evolution strip the warmth and protection off of an animal and send it out into the world unprotected? It sounds like a terrible idea. It wasn't. It was one of the most important things that ever happened to your body. To understand it, you have to go back roughly 2 million years to a hot, open landscape in East Africa. Your ancestors were no longer hiding in the cool shade of the forest. They had moved out onto the savanna, the wide grassland under an enormous sky, and the savanna had one merciless rule: the sun. Here is the problem your body had to solve. A working muscle generates heat. The harder you move, the more heat you make. And if your core temperature climbs just a few degrees too high, your brain begins to fail, then your organs, then you. Overheating could kill you faster than any predator. Now imagine doing all of that wrapped in fur. This is where an anthropologist named Nina Jablonski comes in. Jablonski has spent her career studying human skin, and she argues that skin is not just a wrapper, it is one of the most underrated organs your body owns. Her work points to a single, elegant answer for why the fur disappeared: cooling. But fur loss alone would not have saved you. You needed something to put in its place. And what your ancestors evolved is genuinely astonishing. You sweat. That sounds unremarkable until you learn how rare it is. Most mammals barely sweat at all. A dog cannot cool itself this way, which is why a dog pants, hanging its tongue out and breathing hard to shed heat slowly. But your skin is covered in somewhere between 2 and 5 million tiny eccrine glands, little pumps that push water straight onto the surface of your body. When that water evaporates, it pulls heat away with it. You are, in effect, a walking radiator. No other animal cools itself as well as you do. A human can lose more than 1 liter of sweat in a single hour and keep moving in heat that would drop almost any other large mammal. Now you can see why the fur had to go. A thick coat would have trapped that sweat against the skin, soaking the fur and stopping the evaporation that does all the cooling. Bare skin and millions of sweat glands work as a team. One is useless without the other. This idea has a name. Researchers call it the thermoregulation hypothesis, which simply means the theory that you lost your fur in order to control your body temperature. One of its strongest champions was a biologist named Peter Wheeler, who spent years modeling exactly how much heat an upright, fur-covered body would absorb under the African sun compared to a bare one. His numbers kept telling the same story. Standing tall and going naked let your ancestors stay out in the punishing midday heat when other predators were forced into the shade, and that timing mattered more than you might think. Let's reconstruct a day. The sun is high. A lion has just made a kill at dawn, eaten, and now lies panting under a tree, unable to hunt again until it cools down. The big cats own the cool hours. But the middle of the day, the brutal, shimmering, dangerous middle of the day, belongs to almost no one, except you. Your ancestor steps out into that heat, skin glistening, and begins to move. Not sprinting. Walking, then jogging, settling into a steady rhythm that can go on for hours. This is the deep secret of the naked human body, and a scientist named Daniel Lieberman has built much of his career on it. Lieberman studies how humans are built to move, and he argues that your bare, sweating, upright body turned you into one of the greatest endurance machines in the animal kingdom. There is a hunting style that early humans almost certainly used, and it is called persistence hunting. You don't outrun the animal, you outlast it. You pick a target, often a fast antelope, and you follow it through the heat of the day. The antelope sprints away and disappears. You keep walking. You find it again. It sprints again, but it cannot sweat the way you can, so its body bakes from the inside. You stay cool. Hour after hour, you close the distance until finally the animal simply cannot run anymore. Its muscles locked with heat, and you walk up to it. You won that hunt with your skin. Think about what that meant. Meat is dense, concentrated energy. More meat fueled a bigger, hungrier, more expensive brain. So the very same naked skin that let you chase down food in the heat also helped power the growth of the organ reading these words right now. The bare body and the big brain rose together. But cooling is not the only theory, and this is where the story gets stranger. A pair of researchers, Mark Pagel and Walter Bodmer, proposed a different driver in 2003, parasites. Their idea, sometimes called the ectoparasite hypothesis, is that fur is a perfect hiding place for lice, ticks, fleas, and mites, the tiny passengers that spread disease and misery. Strip away the fur, and you strip away their home. A barer ancestor would have been bitten less, infected less, and might even have looked healthier to a potential mate. Under this theory, naked skin became a kind of honest advertisement. Clear skin said, "I am not riddled with parasites. Choose me." So which was it? Heat or parasites? The honest answer is that it may have been both, layered over a very long time. And here is a detail that sounds almost too clever to be real. We can actually estimate when humans started becoming hairless, and we do it by reading genes. A geneticist named Alan Rogers studied a gene called MC1R, which helps control skin color. His reasoning ran like this. As long as your ancestors were covered in fur, the skin underneath stayed pale because it was shaded. But the moment the fur thinned out, that newly exposed skin was hit by intense African sunlight, and pale skin in that sun is a death sentence of burns and damage. So dark protective skin had to evolve fast. By dating the change in that pigment gene, Rogers estimated that your ancestors were already losing their hair well over 1 million years ago. There is an even sneakier clue, and it involves lice. There are two kinds that live on humans, head lice and body lice. And body lice can only survive by clinging to clothing. So body lice could not have existed before clothing did. A researcher named Mark Stoneking and his colleagues studied the genetic split between those two kinds of lice and used it to estimate when humans first started wearing clothes, landing somewhere around 170,000 years ago. Do you see the strange gap there? Your ancestors lost their natural fur more than 1 million years ago, but did not start covering up with clothing until much, much later. For a vast stretch of time, your lineage simply walked the earth bare, comfortable in its own warm climate, needing nothing more than its remarkable skin. So, here is the twist that flips the whole question on its head. You probably think of fur as the natural state and nakedness as the loss. But for your body, nakedness was not a loss at all. It was an upgrade. It was the technology that let your ancestors conquer the open landscape, hunt in the heat, fuel a growing brain, and walk farther than almost any creature alive. The fur didn't fail you. Letting it go is part of what made you human. And now look at what's left. You still have hair, just in very particular places, and even those tell a story. The hair on your head likely stayed to shield the top of your skull, the part most exposed to the vertical midday sun, protecting that precious overheating brain. And those millions of sweat glands are still working right now, quietly holding your temperature steady while you sit perfectly still, a survival system from the savannah running silently under modern clothes. Here is the part that should give you pause. That same ancient cooling system is the reason a fever feels so dangerous, the reason heat stroke can be deadly, the reason a marathon runner can still, against all odds, jog for hours in the sun. You are carrying the legacy of the persistence hunter in a body that now mostly sits in chairs. You were built to move, bare-skinned, through the heat. Your ancestors paid for that body over 1 million years, one shed hair at a time. So run your hand down your arm one more time. That smooth, bare skin is not what you lost. It is what you won.